For better or worse, with modern racing games, it's become expected that the cars are almost photorealistic. So even though Need for Speed Rivals isn't a standard racing game, it's definitely one of the first things that we looked at when playing through it. As you can see, the developers at Ghost Games definitely came through. Beyond the wide range of cars that you can unlock as you play, there's also quite a few cars that you'll encounter on the road. These are actually more collision objects than anything, but it's still really nice to see that the environments aren't completely barren and, oh yeah, they break into 1,000 pieces when you collide with them. It's a really nice touch that helps add to the realism. Now, one thing you may not have noticed with that collision is a cool trick that the devs did to really push the look of collisions. So with this crash scene, pay close attention to the sparks that bounce across the ground. Now, here's the same shot. Just slow it down so it's a little bit easier to see. In particular, look at the 3 little sparks that bounce across the ground, landing next to the tall patch of grass on the side of the road. Notice how they don't really disappear nearly as fast as you might expect them to, and that's not because we slowed them down. That's just the way that it's done. Now, in the meantime, they're very actively affected by the physics of the world environment, just keep bouncing around rather unrealistically, and almost like they're just little tiny cylinders with glow applied. But played again at full speed, you'd never really notice. And if they did disappear faster, the collision probably wouldn't look nearly as cool. Now, this is a great little trick of pushing those effects just a little bit further that reinforces that games don't always have to be extremely realistic. They just have to be realistic enough to be believable. Of course, some of those tricks are more noticeable even at full speed. In this shot, look closely at the glass as we drive through it. Did you notice that? Just in case, let's watch it again, a little bit slower. Notice how the glass completely disappears and then the glass geometry shatters. Now, of course, in this particular case, running through the glass results in a bad ending off the cliff on the other side, so it's not recommended to try that at home. Now, the lighting in Need for Speed was amazingly well done, as you can see from these shots here. From areas of the map where you're driving through tunnels, you notice how the car's headlights automatically kick on when you get into a darker area, to shots like this with nice lens flares. Now, in some of the shots, the lens flares can actually be a little annoying, but for a game like this, that's actually what you'd expect. Because if you've ever driven directly into the sun, you'll know how annoying it is when the entire sky is so bright it messes with your vision. Much to our detriment, as you can see in this shot here. Some of the accident animations were actually the weaker parts of the game that we found. As you can see in this shot, sometimes the interaction the cars have with the world just isn't very realistic. Notice how the car goes up onto the cement barrier and just slides off. Almost looks like some sort of a ragdoll effect. Now, in this shot, if you look really close, you'll notice not only does the entire back bumper of the car disappear before the car even hits the wall, but there are some really large pieces of glass flying around. May seem like little things, but with the amount of times that you're bound to crash and Need for Speed, some of these little details can add up and start to take away from the realism of the game overall. Thankfully, there were plenty of other effects that were very well done to help offset some of the animation issues. We're a sucker for great lens effects to help sell the realism, and as you can see, we're driving around, you get all sorts of stuff kicked up into the camera, just really helps sell the shot. Now, of course, if it's raining outside, you'll also get nice little droplets of water on the camera, as you can see here. Some of the effects that are well done are the special powers that you can get with the cars. For example, here's the electrostatic field. Lightning is one of those effects that can look really cheesy if it's not well done, but the way the devs implemented it in Need for Speed is really well done. The little sparks that are flying off and bouncing behind the car as you drive, really nice added touch as well. Now, that's not the only effect, though. So here's a shot where we're about to get hit by an EMP. As you might expect, the entire HUD is going to be affected, but if you look closely at the car itself, it actually gets hit by bolts of electricity that spread around the car. It's a really impressive level of attention to detail that's often overlooked because, realistically, most people probably aren't going to notice it. They're just going to notice the scrambling HUD and try avoid crashing while their HUD is all blur. Now, the last technical issue that I wanted to point out was with the voice commands in Need for Speed. And we were playing the Xbox One version, and while it's cool that there are some Kinect voice commands, a lot of them seem to be extra sensitive. For instance, in this shot, we're driving along the road, talking about how cool the scenery is, and all of a sudden, a map randomly pops on the screen because of something that we said. Now, another one that we saw quite a bit was a little 360 spin around the car. So, when we reviewed this game, there were a bunch of us sitting around the Xbox playing, and we'll call out to each other when we notice something cool, like look around the bottom of the car to see the nice shadows. It's a quite common thing to hear. Well, the voice command to activate the 360 spin are the words look around. Watch what happens when you say those magic words. As you can imagine, it can kind of throw you off, and very quickly we learned what words we can and can't say around the game for fear of causing a crash. It sure looks cool, but it can be kind of tough to drive when you're not sure where you're going. In the end, there are some technical issues with Need for Speed that you'll certainly notice as an artist playing the game, but fortunately, these issues don't really interfere with how fun it is to drive around like a maniac in an incredibly expansive world. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to add us either on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network with the gamertag Digital-Tutors, and we'll see you online.